Hey everyone, welcome to the Cultivated Life podcast. I'm so glad you're joining us. My wife Sharon and I have a real passion, and that is to raise up a generation that knows God. The reason that we do the podcast, the reason we write books, the reason that we do seminars, retreats, teach, is because we believe that God is wanting to raise up disciples, not just believers, but disciples. If you want to find out more about us, order a book, read about who we are, what we do, you can go to the cultivatedlifeministries.com. All right? Here's what I need you to do. I need you to click like, subscribe, the good buttons, right? Let's click share. Share it on your page. Share this podcast with somebody that you think might enjoy it. God bless you. Let's go into our teaching now. I am really excited about our time together in this particular episode because I think I have some things that I need to share with you that can help you in most, I was going to say every, but let me say most, if not every aspect of your life. I know that life is multifaceted. I know that there are some principles that may work on your job that may not work in your family, and there's some things that will work in your family that do not work with your other relationships as far as friends and things like that. But I think there are some principles that have the ability to cross over. So recently, before we get started, my latest book, The Blueprint of Self. And if you are interested in how the spirit, soul, and body works, I would encourage you to get this. It is full of information that I feel like the Lord gave me. And I say that hesitantly because I very seldom say, God said or God told me, but I feel like the Lord really helped me write that book. And so you can pick that up at Amazon, or you can go to the cultivatedlifeministries.com. And a lot of our books are there. If not that one, then you can find some others as well. So now back to the topic at hand. Recently, Sharon and I were talking, and she said, do you think that everything in life is meant to be hard? Or do we just make it hard? I want to say that again. So here's what the topic we were talking about. Is everything in life meant to be hard? Or do we just make it hard? And so we went into some discussion around this, and here's the conclusion that I came up with. And Sharon said, this may be the wisest thing she's ever heard me say, which I'm just saying. She's the smart one in the group. So if she says it's smart, then it's probably pretty smart. All right. So here's what the thought that came to me in the midst of this discussion. Mediocrity, average, is easy in the moment, but hard for the long term. Mediocrity is easy in the moment, but hard for the long term. When people fall into mediocrity, it's like, finally, I can sit down. I can prop my feet up. I can lean back. I can, settle in. We're good. But then over a period of time, life gets hard because there becomes a discomfort in the ease. There becomes a dissatisfaction with my life is not advancing. And so I believe mediocrity can be easy in the moment, but hard in the long term. On the other hand, I believe that excellence or acceleration or growth or development, whatever you want to call that, is hard in the long term. And hard in the short term, but very beneficial in the long term, satisfying. To look back and say, man, look what I accomplished. Look what we did together. And so as I started thinking about short term, long term, I started thinking about satisfied, settling in, but then pushing through the hard times, I want to bring you a few principles that I think can help you understand the benefit of doing the hard work first. I've said this for years. I don't know where I got it or if it's another one of those brilliant thoughts that I've had in my life, right? But if you do the easy part first, life gets harder. But if you do the hard part first, life gets easier. And so I want to talk to you for just a few minutes on this idea of thinking long term. What does it mean to think long term? Not getting through the day, not just getting through this week, not even getting through this month or even this year, but building a life built on principles of thinking in the long term. All right, number one. First book I ever wrote was on character. You can also buy that on our website, thecultivatedlifeministries.com, or you can find it on Amazon. Character by Jonathan Perry. Number one, character is always better than reputation. Now, in my book, I put a statement there that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard. It's a common statement, but real character is who you are when no one is looking, when nobody's around. What will you do? What will you not do? On the other side, reputation is simply a shadow. It's simply a public persona. It's what others think you are. Character is who you really are. Reputation is who others think you are. Most of the time, your life will get to a place to where the shadow of reputation cannot sustain the weight of success. And this is why you need to build on the substance of character. So always put character above reputation, because if you have reputation, it will falter at some point. If you have character, it will stand the test of time. All right? Number two, I'm just going to drop these principles on you, and you can work them out, think about them, maybe write them down. I don't know. You have to think about the quality of your solitude. Now, think about that for a moment. Do you like hanging around yourself? I say it like this. Are you comfortable in your own skin? Because if you're not comfortable with yourself, then it's probably awkward for others to be around you as well. Mastering solitude, mastering your private moments where I'm okay to sit in a room by myself in silence. I'm okay to go sit in a restaurant by myself and eat a meal and read a book. I'm okay just to be with my own thoughts. Because if you're not, then you're telling a deeper story, and the deeper story is that your relationships will have a tendency to be more surface and less depth. Okay? You've got to become comfortable in your own skin. You've got to become comfortable with who you are when you're all by yourself. And if not, then that's a great opportunity to talk to God and say, okay, God, what am I missing here? Help me with me. Come on now. Help me with me. The next principle can be more of a, I don't know, maybe a business principle, but I think this one can transfer to other areas of life as well. And that is building systems as opposed to setting goals. Now, I know we're in a very goal-oriented world. I know that when you scroll your Insta or you scroll your TikTok or you scroll your feed, they're always telling you, the top 3 things you should be doing today, or, stop doing A, B, and C. And so what happens is goal setting simply leads to a short-term celebration. Now, I've been in leadership for 40 plus years of the church and other organizations and nonprofits and businesses. I've been in leadership, and I know the easy task is to set a goal. We're going to hit this number. We're going to reach that milestone. We're going to reach that marker, the measurables, right? That's not all measurables are goals, but goals can become measurables. Does that make sense? And if you're not careful, you will fall for the goal setting and the short-term celebration, as opposed to building a system that will carry things for the long term. Does that make sense? System building is what you want for continuous improvement. It's the thing that you want that will move you into the long-term continued success, celebration, ongoing advancement. So do not think of life in setting goals, but in building systems. All right, how can I explain this one? Here we go. I have a goal to run a mile. So I get up every day and I start walking, and then I start running. And then after a few days, I run a mile. Bam, I'm done. That's a win. I celebrate. I go home, I sit back down on the couch, and I'd be like, I got it, right? But systems says, I'm going to get up every day. I'm going to exercise 15 minutes. What's the goal? It's not a goal. It's a system. It becomes a part of the process of your life, right? We're talking long term. Short term, mediocrity will always settle for the short term. But we are not people of mediocrity. We are people of excellence. And so we're always thinking of the long term. We're thinking of the eternal. Now, here's another one. My boys hate me when I bring this one up. Learn to be wrong. I tell my boys all the time. I remember from when they were young that they would be like, all right, what do we do? I said, you're going to go figure it out. Even now, I will walk into a meeting and I don't know half of what's going on because it's not my forte, or it's not my meeting, or I don't understand what we're actually talking about. And I don't have a problem by saying, help me out here for a minute. Either I've misunderstood something, or I don't understand this. Show me how to do this. Because the sooner you can admit you're wrong, the sooner you can grow in grace and knowledge. Let me tell you something about pride. Pride is a disease, and it will eat you alive. And the fastest way to learn is to admit you either don't know or that you're wrong. That's the fastest way to learn. And most people will rather defend their mistakes as opposed to admit that they were wrong or that they didn't know. That's a very important principle. The sooner you can learn that, the faster that your life will accelerate, and the faster you will learn, and the more you will begin to grow in what you do know. You know, they always say this. The older you get, the more you realize you don't know, right? I'm there, right? You need to get to a place of saying, I don't know, I don't understand, but I want to get there. Here's another one. You need to understand the power of deep key bonds, or you need to understand the strength of relationships. You don't need 100 relationships. You don't need 1,000 deep relationships. Jesus had 12, and then he had 3, and then he had 1. Now, this is important. You need about 10 to 12 people in your life that you can sit down and have a meal with and laugh and have a good time. You need about 10 to 12 people that you can, play golf with, go out, hang out with, the families get together, have some fun. This is more of a surface level relationship. I don't want to say surface level. That would be an acquaintance. This is more of a first level relationship. But then there's another deeper level of relationship. And that is Jesus then had 3. He had Peter, James, and John. Who's your 3? 12, those people can come and go. In fact, in the 12, you may even have a Judas. So don't get too wrapped up in that. Don't get too nervous about that. But who's your 3? Jesus had Peter, James, and John. And more than once, Jesus takes Peter, James, and John away. And he pours into them. He has a deeper relationship with Peter, James, and John. They're the ones that go to the Mount of Transfiguration with Jesus, right? They're the ones that see Moses come down with Jesus and Elijah come down with Jesus. They had experiences with Jesus that the other 9 did not have. But then there's that 1. Now, with the 3, I say you need to find 3 people in your life, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a general number, but you get the gist. You need to have a small group of people in your life that you're accountable to, that know you, that know who you are, how you operate, how you think, what's going on in your world, that you're able to share with and they're able to share with you. You need that small group of people that are highly trusted and highly loyal. But then there's that 1. When Jesus comes to the end of his life, 11 of the disciples are not there. Bartholomew, Thomas, Judas wasn't there. Judas was suicidal at this point. Peter, one of the 3, wasn't there. James, one of the 3 wasn't there. At the cross, we find 1 disciple, and that's John. Now, let me show you the relationship that Jesus has with John. Jesus looks at John. He's hanging on the cross. He's dying of asphyxiation. And he looks at John and he says, John, I need you to look after my mom. And Mom, I need you to look after John. This is that 1 confidant. You may have 1 or 2 people in your life that when you get to the end, you can literally hand your life over to and say, I need you to take care of my life. We may call him the executor of the will. We may call him our best bud. We may call him our soulmate, husband, wife, whoever it is. You need the 1 because there's something about developing healthy relationships and key bonds. You need your larger group of 12, not the hundreds that follow you on social media. Those don't count. I'm talking about the people that walk with you on a daily basis. Then you need your 3, and then you need your 1. All right? Now, here's another one. Developing a philosophy over an opinion. Now, I cannot tell you how many times, because of my role, because of my position, I cannot tell you how many people come to me and want my opinion about things. Even recently, somebody came to me and wanted my opinion about some war going on somewhere in the world. My question is what are you doing about the war in your own world? That stopped the conversation pretty fast. Let's not develop opinions about stuff over there and back there. We need to develop healthy philosophies that are not reactions to immediate events, but philosophies that are frameworks for all events. So Jesus lays out a philosophy from the beginning of the Old Testament. Be holy, for I am holy. That's a philosophy. Now, it's a principle. It's a principle. Throughout time, the rules, depending on the culture and the context, have shifted and changed as to what that looks like, but it always looks like one thing. It's always looking more and more like Jesus and less like the world. Well, what does the world look like? Well, it depends on if you're living in Africa or if you're living in South and Central America or if you're living in China. It depends on if you're living in 30 BC or 30 AD, before Christ, after Christ. You see, there's context, but philosophy supersedes context. Philosophy is a framework that says no matter what situation I'm in, because if you're constantly building things on opinions and rules and hard, fast ideologies, then all of a sudden, you get into a situation where it doesn't apply. Now, either it's an escape hatch or it's a conundrum. What do I do? If you build your life on a philosophical approach, I am going to be like Christ. I am a kingdom-minded believer. I am holy because Christ has called me to be holy. Old Testament, New Testament, doesn't matter. Same principle. You're to be holy because God is a holy God. When I talk about building your life around philosophy, it ties heavy to character, to that first principle that we talked about. And so I think it would be important for you to think about what that looks like. So Sharon and I have a philosophy for life. You call it a mission statement. You call it our values. You can call it our vision for life. But we're going to raise up a generation that knows God. Well, what does that look like? Well, it depends on the day. Maybe I'm teaching a Bible study one day. Maybe I'm hanging out with my boys, helping them on their house the next day. Maybe we're sitting at a dinner table with a couple hurting the next day. Maybe the next day we're with friends on a vacation, enjoying life. But what we're doing is we're always doing one thing. We're building on this concept that we are always raising up a generation that knows God. All right, here's another one. Oh, man. I'm gonna try to behave on this one. You have to develop the understanding of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Now, these principles I'm giving you are long-term principles, right? You're not going to figure it all out today. You're not going to figure it all out in a moment, but you need to develop emotional intelligence. Now, when I talk about emotional intelligence, I'm talking about understanding how to emote in various situations, how to express yourself in appropriate ways in various situations. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, there are some things you should and should not do in certain situations and in other situations, right? So somebody says something or does something. Let me see. How can I? Here we go. What about this one? You're driving down the road. I'll just talk to myself. You can listen in. You can just listen in. I'm driving down the road, minding my own business, listening to my favorite podcast, and somebody cuts me off. Now, my human nature, my fleshly side, wants to get mad, wants to say, I'll show you, buddy. Tail them, cut them off, blink my lights, fuss at them. But emotional intelligence will cause you to back up. And I'm not telling you can, it's taken me years. I'm still working on this, but it's taken me years to develop this. To back up and ask myself, what are they dealing with that made them do that? Not thinking about me. Intelligence always brings all pieces of the picture into context. Did they just lose their job? Did they not see me? They cut me off because they didn't see me, right? Little old lady, she's looking between the dashboard and her steering wheel, right? She's driving like this. She can't see out her mirror. Sorry. If you're a little old lady, forgive me. I'm really sorry. But what if they just lost someone dear to them through death? What if they just lost their job? I don't know what they're dealing with, but what I know is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with somebody that I have no control over. So I reel my emotions back and say, I will deal with this in a way that keeps me steady, that keeps me in alignment, that keeps me in a good, healthy place, as opposed to letting them determine my attitude for the day. I used to tell this story. I don't tell it anymore because it's such a bad story, but I'm going to tell it for you. You just can't tell anybody I'm telling you this story, okay? But a guy has a rough day at work. He comes home. He comes busting through the door, says something to his wife, a little harsh, a little difficult. She says, buddy, I don't know what your problem is. Turns around. Little Johnny sitting over at the table acting silly and doing something. She goes over and says, you better straighten your little self up or we both going to have trouble. Little Johnny walks in the room and kicks the cat. And the cat says, what did I do? See, I told you that was a bad story. The point I'm trying to make is how many people's lives, including the cat, was affected because somebody did not have the development of emotional intelligence, of knowing how and when to respond in different situations and in different contexts of life. All right, here's another one. Are you ready for this one? The patience to not start a fight. How do you diffuse the tension? Now, I'm telling you all this because all these are lessons I've had to learn in life. I had nobody to sit down and tell, or maybe somebody sat down and tried to tell me this. I just wasn't listening because I was 16 and knew it all, right? When I was 16, I was the smartest guy in the world, right? I don't remember anyone ever sitting down and giving me some key principles and some key concepts to life. But these are some things I'm sharing with you because I think they can be beneficial for you. And that is, you are a much more powerful person if you're able to diffuse a situation as opposed to leaning into the fight. Hey, I've seen people that would rather fight than anything. I remember as a child and having a spirit of rage. And I've talked about this, so it's no big secret, but I had a spirit of rage on me. And I remember as a child walking in and just literally everything that wasn't in my comfort zone threw me into a spirit of rage. And it was the enemy on my life. I know this now in hindsight, but this ties into emotional intelligence because the ability to walk in and not start a fight or fuel a fight that's already being started puts you in a very strong, powerful position. Because true power is the capacity not to need external validation through conflict. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Let's reel this back. Let's talk about this. Let's think about this. Maybe we need to walk away for a few minutes, days, weeks, and think about it, and then come back. And let's come back with a solution, not with a grudge. If you can learn to do this, if you can learn to de-escalate situations in your life, man, this is short-term and long-term. Remember, short-term is let's fight. I'm going to prove to you I'm right? Long-term is I would rather have peace. I would rather have reconciliation. I would rather have you as my friend. In the long term, than to fight it out and lose all of that. Okay, here's another one. How do you deal with unpredictability? Now, chaos is a part of life. Confusion is a part of life. Stuff happens, right? The most adaptable people are the people who win at life in the long term. If everything always has to fit within the confines of your ideas, it's got to be ABC, don't mix them up. It's got to be, stacked just like this. Don't confuse it. We've got to start here, end here, do this, don't do that. If you have to build your life with such constraints and with such predictability, your life is going to be miserable. You have to make room for a little bit of chaos in your life. You have to give yourself capacity to understand that part of life is not having all the answers up front, but it's having the ability to navigate as we go through life. That's power. In leadership, I'm telling you, there's not I want to say a day. I don't want to stretch it. I can pretty safely say there's not a week that goes by that something does not happen in my life that I did not plan on. I thought I was going to be doing this from 2 to 4 on Wednesday, but nope. Something happened. Now I have to go take care of that. There's a hospital visit. There's a funeral that has to be taken care of. Somebody has a crisis in their life. I got stuck in this conversation, so now I have to change my study time over here so I can be prepared for Sunday. You have to be willing to navigate the unpredictability of life. If you don't, I'm telling you, it's going to be rough. You cannot predict every red light on the way to work. You cannot predict who has an accident on the way to work. You cannot predict that the copy machine's going to work today like it did yesterday. You cannot predict that your boss is going to be in a good mood. What you can do is you can learn to navigate the unpredictability of life and say, you know what? It's going to be all right. We'll figure it out. I didn't plan on this, but we're good. Right? All right. Here's one more. And then we're going to wrap this up. I wish I could control everything in my sphere of influence. I wish I could literally, make everybody little robots. I mean, I say this, not really, but kind of tongue in cheek, but I wish I had the ability to determine who's going to do what and how they're going to do it and what the outcome's going to be. And, we're going to do A, B, C, and we're going to come up with D and all of that kind of stuff. You have to learn. I have to learn. We have to learn to accept what we cannot control. Years ago, a lady came to me and she said, Pastor, I'm going to fast until my son gets saved. I said, wow. For those of you that don't know, back in the old day, you didn't fast social media. When you fasted, you were drinking water. That was it. If you went on more than a 3-day fast, you might get a little bit of grape juice or something, little apple juice to keep you going. But basically, you were just on liquids. I said, are you willing to die? And she just looked at me shocked. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, because your fasting cannot control their response to God. Your child's response to God cannot be manipulated by your fasting. So now you have to ask yourself, either you're going to fast until you die, or you're going to learn to deal with what you cannot control. I'm just here to tell somebody. You're listening to me right now. You're watching this right now. And I'm just here to tell you right now that most people live in a state of anxiety, or let me rephrase that. Most people that live in a state of anxiety are fighting the inevitable. It's because they're trying to control what they can't control. They're trying to manipulate something, someone in a whole nother way. Okay, so let me ask you, what is it that you need to be doing in the short term that will give you long-term returns? The hard stuff, as opposed to doing the easy stuff today and missing the long-term benefits. I don't know if this has been a blessing to you. I've enjoyed talking about it. I'm a verbal processor. I like to kind of process things out. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Before we leave, here's what I need you to do. We never ask for money, but here's how you can repay me. Here's how, if this has been beneficial at all. You can share this on your page. You can subscribe. You can go online, buy a book for somebody that you know. Figure out a way to pass the word on so that you're not the only one being blessed and ministered to by what I've just shared. Share this with somebody that you know that needs it right now. Okay? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Make sure you get the word out. Let's let somebody else know what God's doing and saying. All right? Hey, I'm so glad you joined me. Before we leave, let me say a prayer over you. Father, I thank you for my friend. I thank you, Lord, for each and every person that's taken the moment to watch or listen to this podcast. I pray that you would help us to get our eyes off of the short-term gratification. Lord, let us get our eyes off of the easy now and help us to understand the power of the strength, the courage to do the hard things now so that we can have a great, rewarding, harvest-filled future. I thank you for it in Jesus' name. All right, God bless you. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Thank you so much for being a part of this teaching. And I just really pray that something was said or done that has ministered into your life. Again, I encourage you to share, like, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to know more about us and what we do, you can go to thecultivatedlifeministries.com. You can see all of our books there. You can catch up on other podcasts and information about who we are and what we do and why we do it. God bless you. Thank you for joining us today.